To order. This is the meeting of the Clark County School District Finance Corporation. I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Let's have everyone stand and observe a moment of silence. Now pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Let's see.
Thank you.
Mr. Nancy's back up there in the corner there, so I'll make sure I don't mess any of this stuff up. So first order of business on the Clark County School District Finance Corporation agenda is confirmation of the officers. And let's see, I believe officers are
That's what we did the last time.
right. So
Simon Cycle.
right. So I'm the president. Scott Heisel is the vice president. Paul Christie is the secretary, and Alicia Ellis is the treasurer. So do we need to vote on that, Joe, or not?
Just, you need a motion a second to confirm the officers as
Okay. So motion is in order to confirm the officers as reviewed.
I move that we confirm the officers as indicated.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Hicks.
Second.
Second by Mr. Parrott. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is to consider the resolution for the school building revenue bonds for the GRC high school gymnasium addition and athletic fields.
And before we take action, I want to show up the paper, and I'll get offended if I can't pass it out to you. I just want to confirm our conversations and understanding from last week when we reviewed all the bids and all the alternates. And I just want to take 1 second to review that. And on that handout, if you go ahead and go to the last page, this is the summary. And I'm also handing out a copy of the revised BG1 that you'll actually be taking official action on at the board meeting. But I wanted to take 1 second to review that, to let you know how it all ties back to the bond issue. Okay. So if we'll first look at the BG1 form, and I see Donald back there, he can help me out if I need to. I had presented at the last meeting a kind of a 2 sample BG1 forms that we looked at when we accepted all the alternates. This is the actual BG1 form that you'll be approving or being asked to approve at your board meeting. And the one thing that I did want to point out, in the construction cost, there's a $6,000 difference from the number that we discussed at the board meeting. And that is a result of one of the bid packages.
Recommending a bidder that wasn't necessarily the low bid on the flooring pack.
Okay, so that's the only difference. And so what I will point out is, down at the bottom, the grand total project cost is $25,286,173.80. And on the right-hand side, identifies all the cash plus the bonds that we're going to be issuing. So what I will point out is, what we're going to be approving in a resolution in a moment is a total bond issue in the amount of $19,255,000. And that's simply the total on the right-hand side of your BG1 of number 3 and number 4, which are the SFCC portion of the bond sale and the local portion. So those two together add up to the $19,255,000 that we're going to be approving here as the Finance Corporation. And then finally, if you look at my 4-page handout and the last page, and again, this is identical bottom line to what we discussed at the last meeting, is what we are asking you to approve based on your actions at the last meeting is the far right column is the base plus the alternatives. And when it comes down to it, you'll notice that next to the last line inside the box, that totals the $25,286,173.80, which jives up exactly with our BG1. And once we issue these bonds, we still have that $1,540,000 available for future projects. So I just wanted to confirm that what we're asking you to approve tonight does coincide exactly with our last board meeting, with the exception of that one bid package. So just wanted to present that. Any questions? Again, same information that we went over before.
I guess we should probably also note what the average net interest cost
Yes,
is.
3.38% is what we're projecting. And the one thing, Mr. Heisel, that I'm happy to report, of course, I don't have a crystal ball, assuming we proceed with the approvals tonight, it will be exactly 4 weeks from today that I actually sell the bonds. Based on your approval, your construction manager, it takes them about 10 days to get all of their contracts into the Department of Education. They have a 2-week review period, so exactly 4 weeks from today, we will sell the bonds, lock the rates in. Based on today's interest rates, I would anticipate our rate will be better than that 3.38%, so I'm very comfortable that, unless something really out of the ordinary would happen in the next 30 days, I would hope, Mr. Heisel, to report back to the board that we actually did better than that projection. So with that being said, I think it would be appropriate for me to read the resolution into the record, then we could have a motion in a second. It's a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Clark County School District Finance Corporation relating to and providing for the issuance of $19,255,000 principal amount, subject to a permitted adjustment of $1,925,000 of school building revenue bonds in accordance with sections 58.180 and 162.120 through 162.290 and 162.385 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes to provide funds for school building purposes, providing and determining the duty of said corporation in connection with the operation of the school property, the creation of funds sufficient to pay the principal off and interest on said revenue bonds as and when they mature, the creation of adequate maintenance and insurance funds, and authorizing the execution of a lease of such foregoing property to the Board of Education of the Clark County School District.
Okay. Any other discussion? Motion is in order to accept the resolution of the Clark County School District Finance Corporation as presented by Mr. Nance.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Heisel,
Second.
second by Mr. Perro. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay. And that's the only item of business, or one of the only items, that's an item of major business for the Clark County School District Finance Corporation. So the motion is in order to adjourn the Finance Corporation.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ms. Ritchie,
Second.
second by Ms. Hicks. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. The Finance Corporation is adjourned at 6:19 p.m. Regular meeting will start in 11 minutes. This is a special meeting of the Clark County Board of Education to discuss student learning and achievement reports and do some other business. I'd like to welcome everyone who has chosen to attend with us this evening. Let's again stand and observe a moment of silence. Now the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business is adoption of the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Motion by Ms. Hicks,
Second.
second by Ms. Rich. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is public comments. Anyone sign in for public comments?
No.
All right. And then under student achievement reports, student learning and instructional service, student achievement reports, Concord Elementary School.
Good evening. First of all, Concord Elementary is working very, very hard to achieve student success. As most of you know, I became principal at Concord at the end of October of last year. So as a new principal to the building, I decided not to change previous initiatives that were already in place, but instead monitor them for effectiveness. I spent the first few months listening to staff, getting to know the teachers, and developing a positive culture in the building. After careful consideration of progress monitoring data, I implemented what we call a flex time in January to respond to student intervention needs in reading and in math. So based on our K-Prep data, flex time interventions have been successful in reducing our novice population, and Concord was able to show growth in GAP and growth categories by meeting 3 target areas, one of which of those being students with disabilities. However, there is still a lot of work left to do. Do you have questions for me?
Why don't you just go ahead and take us through your scores?
Okay, all right. So if you look here, you'll see that achievement, we dropped last year 2 6/10 points, which that is our one, I will say that's our area of focus this year is our tier 1 instruction. Our GAP population, we increased by 29.9 points, and that includes our novice reduction, which we did meet 3 of our targets with novice reduction. In growth, we did drop 8 7/10 points. So what we're doing is we're growing our students by that 40 percentile mark. We're just not maintaining that proficient and distinguished whenever you put them together. So that's why you're seeing that drop there.
Can you explain categorical growth? What is that as opposed to just growth?
Okay, so if you look, categorical growth basically shows that a student grows from a lower performance level to a higher one or remains proficient and distinguished. So when you look at categorical growth for us, we had in reading 51.9% of our students grew a level or stayed proficient and distinguished. Only 48.1% of our students grew a level or stayed proficient and distinguished in math. So that's the categorical growth. We're growing students, we're just not getting them to that proficient and distinguished mark and keeping them there.
So how are we going to do that?
Well, one, I know for reading especially, I've put an initiative where we've done a lot of training with our teachers with Fontes and Pinnell reading. So we have a consistent method for how we are doing running records with students, tracking guided reading levels. We're having conversations with teachers, we're modeling lessons, we're actually having conversations around those guided reading levels and the structures that are in place. We're also progress monitoring weekly in PLCs, how our students are performing by tracking students in reading and in math.
Tell me about writing.
Okay, writing, you know, I'm a strong believer that good readers are good writers. And so that is one thing at Concrite that we are. We have a huge reading initiative going. Our students are writing to learn, writing to demonstrate learning, and we're writing for authentic purposes. We are in the process right now of developing a writing plan. And so we're revisiting that. We are going to start meeting and having those, I guess, marks to where we bring pieces around the table and we start sharing those and seeing what's happening in the classrooms, providing feedback in ways that we can help our students.
How is that different from how you did writing last year?
Well, I'll be honest. Writing last year, they were doing writing in the classroom. We were more focused on the reading instruction and writing combined rather than the separate entity of pieces and looking at individual writing pieces.
I appreciate the fact that, yes, kids need to know how to read before they need to know how to write, but how about students which are proficient or distinguished and need to take that next step towards developing their writing skills? What are you going to be doing for them?
Absolutely. So in our flex time, we do have an enrichment time that those students that are proficient and distinguished go to our library, which is 45 minutes every single day, that they're doing, advanced level activities with writing, doing book studies, and then creating other, pieces of writing.
Okay. Judy, any other questions on writing?
How do we find where individual schools fall? So much is district by elementary level, everything is by levels. Do we have individual scores?
There are no scores. You can look at, if you go into the school report card and you go into data sets.
Yes.
Then you can drill down into districts and then if you would like to choose a particular district, then you can drill down into
Yes.
their elementary school.
Right. I did that, but still when I got to some of this, it didn't have by individual grades within that school. Should I be able to find that? It was just
Some will
all,
not show you grades. It just
Okay.
depends on the content area. Like for GRC, we could not determine if it was 10th or 11th grade. That's
Right,
with the EOC
because-
Algebra 2.
Yeah.
They just lump them all together.
yes.
But like for reading and math, if you're looking at elementary, you should be able to determine 3rd and 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. You should be able to look at grade level. If you go into the data sets and you go under achievement,
Right.
and then you go under grade, it will pull it by grades. If you go
Okay.
by levels, it won't pull it by grades.
Okay,
It
I
gives you
thought
a
I was in
choice.
grades, but maybe I wasn't, but it was a frustrating experience.
Well, sometime I can show you how to get there.
Yeah, because I've been there before,
Right.
but not this time.
If I could follow up on that same exact subject, on the school report card page, there's one in the center called assessment.
Yes,
Is that the column we should be fishing in, then go to K-Prep, and there's one for level and one for grade?
Yes, sir.
yes.
And that's where, if I drill down to grade, that's where I ought to be able to find it.
You should be able to filter by any district and then go down to any school. And then, of course, if you want to go from the highest scores to the lowest scores in any content area, you should be able to do that. That's where schools are kind of predicting their ranking based on that, but it's not really accurate.
And if the numbers within that, like reading, proficient, or distinguished, if they don't exactly match up, is that because the folks at KASC are somehow pulling it slightly different?
They should be using that data set. It should match pretty good.
It should match, yeah.
It should match.
Okay, but if I want to compare how our elementaries are doing to elementaries in another district,
Yes, you can do that.
I can
Pull
certainly
Martin,
use that.
let's say, pull, Boone County for some reason, or, it would pull both of them.
Okay, thank you.
So we're writing scores.
Writing is not tied to elementary as in
Right, it just
our
starts fifth,
elementaries.
Right.
sixth, which is why that's all we have.
Just 5th and 8th.
But because it's not assessed at that level for the purposes of the K-Prep, when we get to fifth grade, if they aren't used to doing that, should we be surprised at what we're seeing? I mean, when are we starting with it? Because from the scores, it kind of looks like we don't start much until fifth grade.
Well, there are no scores
Well,
for us in
For,
elementary.
well, for whatever numbers they came up with for fifth grade in writing that say 25.5% of our kids are proficient or distinguished. What determined that if it were not a score?
It is a score, but it's not based on what happened. You know what I'm saying? The fourth grade plays into that when they go to fifth grade, but that is a fifth grade score. That's what I
Yes.
alluded to the fact that our grade configuration does not help us assessment-wise, because it takes that fifth grade out of the elementary, even though it's gonna show up as an elementary score, when it's really not at the elementary level, it's at an intermediate level. That's why it's very hard for those teachers to have those conversations that need to occur. We need to do a better job with vertical alignment when it comes to writing and any content area, because if you think about social studies is being held accountable at Baker, even though it's an elementary school. The social studies has to be taught in K through 4
Right.
in order for those, just like writing, it has to occur. So we are tackling that right now with writing. It is occurring. I think that's your question. Is it occurring in kindergarten or
Yes.
second?
And yes.
Yes.
It is.
So
It is.
how is it assessed there? Internally, how is writing assessed?
Right, so we meet with each piece, for example. So when we have our PLC meetings, I will have teachers bring, so they're supposed to have completed to me a narrative piece by the end of November. And we're gonna come
Okay,
together,
at what grade level?
K4.
So a kindergartner is doing a narrative.
Well, it's more of their labeling, telling a story, it's
Okay.
dictation.
Okay.
Right. I mean, it's different, of course, based on grades,
Okay.
but that's what we're doing as far as to be able to have conversations as to where to go next with our instruction. So then we meet on all 4 pieces.
So besides the narrative, what do they do?
Opinion pieces, persuasive,
What's the fourth one?
the research, they do an informative piece.
Like an informative cross content areas. It could be a science, social
Any of that.
studies, and information.
Mhm.
So we can expect to see greater achievement next year in writing
Well, we're gonna hope so.
and everything else.
Yes. When you start focusing on a particular content area, you will see an improvement. You're not gonna see us go from, 28, I can't remember what you said.
25.5.
25.5.
For fifth
proficient
grade.
Distinguished for fifth grade to like a 75 in 1 year. I mean, I would have to be a miracle worker for that to happen, but you want to see those incremental jumps. I mean, we've looked at districts surrounding us that have some scores that are a little bit higher than us. We're in contact with them to figure out, hey, now I will tell you, districts don't always like to share what they're doing, okay? Because then if they do that, then everybody else comes up around them. But you have to have a district that's willing to let you come in and talk to teachers that are teaching writing. But we have a plan, trust me. I don't sit around and twiddle my thumbs on this.
Any comment on language mechanics? Brenda, do you think language mechanics and writing are related or not?
They are. But the way it is
And we do test
tested in
language.
fourth grade, it's
Okay.
very isolated.
Okay.
It doesn't really, the way it's tested is not like it's tested in a writing form or format. It's very skill oriented view.
Okay.
But it does
What does
play
that
into
mean?
it. Meaning like, you would read a sentence, what is the verb?
Oh, yeah. So kind of just isolated
Mhm.
content.
Capitalization.
Yeah, punctuation.
Punctuation.
They may have a paragraph and they may say, what is the missing piece and the missing punctuation? But as far as tying to writing, it doesn't really tie to writing.
And I'll tell you too, the way it's tested language mechanics, there is not a a course of study that, the way they teach it. I have looked for years to find something that matches the way that it's taught, like a K-Prep test, can't find it. And I think it's a lot of reading, so like they'll say, find the paragraph, the sentence below that is correct.
Supposedly.
You know, supposedly, not that I've ever seen the test. But, and then you have to read the 4 sentences to try to find the one that's correct. Correct punctuation, correct capitalization. I mean, it's challenging. And I mean, you know, we're not privy to that, and there's not any book that I have found that teaches it like that. And we can't, you know, it's challenging.
So the elementary's used journeys, correct? So what does the writing component within journeys, how does it deal with the old-fashioned grammar stuff?
It's very isolated. It teaches it as a separate skill. But we are looking at that. That's something we're looking at.
Good to hear.
Well, being a former principal who took over a school in January, I certainly applaud your approach. I think so many times in this high-stakes test world, we tend to jump into things we forget about people. So I applaud you for doing that. And looking, you know, through those test scores, and your 61 that you scored on your novice reduction was fantastic based on everything else that I saw.
Thank you.
That looked pretty good, so I appreciate the efforts that you made.
Thank you very much.
Okay. 2 other questions for you, as I promised last week.
Okay.
Tell me what your plans are for this coming academic year on maintaining growth that you've made so far.
On
Maintaining growth.
maintaining growth. So,
Because the 3 questions are going to be writing, growth, and gap.
so when we look at growth, you know, like I said before, we're growing our students. We have things in place with that flex time. With our students, we're reteaching standards, we're working together as a team. We're meeting those students' individual needs. So students are growing. I think what we need to work on again is just looking at more of our progress monitoring data as far as making sure that we're maintaining that proficiency and distinguished in our students. So,
Okay. Because I guess the nexus of my question is you've made areas where you've made progress. What are your plans to maintain that progress and not slip backwards?
yes.
Okay. And gap, you've had some success in reducing gap. Would you care to share the reasons for some of your successes and plans you have, further plans you have to try to attempt gap reduction in your school?
Right. So, you know, novice reduction was one thing that I noted. I mean, of course, coming in January, and that was one of the initiatives we, you know, as a staff, when I came in, that was the one thing that they knew we needed help. And
Okay.
so I put in a 45-minute flex time and starting in January, and we looked at students' individual needs as far as where they were performing in reading and in math. And so I've got interventionists who have pulled students for 45 minutes, that additional 45 minutes. Again, it's just progress monitoring, working together. We have weekly meetings, and it's tracking students' performance.
Okay.
Where did you find the 45 minutes?
That was just 45 minutes, 5 days a week. That's just, they're really, I mean, I felt like that was a good time to service those kids outside of the core instruction.
So where did those minutes come from, though?
Well, I mean, we have our 90 minutes of reading, we have 90 minutes of math, we have science and social studies built in, and then there was, just the addition.
You didn't decrease instructional time in any areas and you still had 45 minutes?
Well, off of planning, I mean, their planning time, that was
Okay.
part of it, you know, of course.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is there anything we as a board can do to help you in any way?
I think just, you know, again, continue to be supportive of us and know that we work hard every day. The staff at Conkright, you walk in any classroom in my building and see teachers working with kids. So we're always learning, we're always working together, and, just to continue to be supportive of us.
One of the things that concerns me, and this goes back to this pension plan, is they're talking about one of the components of it is limiting anyone coming into the schools after retirement to 100 hours or less. That's where our interventionists are coming from. Some of our best interventionists are past former teachers coming back in to help. When they're limited to only 100 hours a month, that's going to be a hurdle for us in any school system.
We'll see if that flies. I think there's going to be a lot of objection to that, so. Okay, thank you very much.
Good luck, Ms. Manning.
Go live.
Ready, Ms. Hillman?
Yep, I'm ready. I know you all have had a chance to look over everything.
If you just want to take us through your data real quick at the high points and we'll just
Okay.
open discussion.
Well, we're definitely not where we should be or where I'd hoped we would be this time. We did drop a little bit of achievement. Our gap is our biggest area of growth, and our gap is the biggest area of growth. However, the growth has been really interesting. The more I've tracked that, I look at justice, and one thing, according to a survey our teachers did at the end of last year, which really surprised me, was resoundingly every teacher said, we meet children where they are. And that was a big thing for my staff to say, because that took 4 years of us getting to, well, the kids need to be where we are. No, we meet them where they are. So that's one strength of ours. And when it was interesting, because even though I noticed that we did not do well in novice reduction, I went kid by kid when we got our data back, and I compared 2016 scores in growth to the 2017. We had 2 students that moved from novice into apprentice in reading in 2016, and we had 10 this past year. We had 4 in 2016 that went from novice or apprentice into proficiency. We had 8, so we doubled that. We tripled the number of children we moved in math from novice into apprentice. So some of this, I think you have to look much deeper than just what the numbers are on the paper. Because to me, I'm getting to the point where I don't even want to say the word test anymore to our kids, because there's a lot of anxiety that goes with it. And to me, what this whole thing that we do is about is individual children's growth. And that's one thing that our school is strong at. But when we drill down, and 25 years into this, I'm still learning something new every day. And as we were going back through our scores and working through some things that KASC sent us with this, was talking about how the growth calculation was done. 50% of it is for your student growth percentile, and then 50% for your categorical model. I can get kids to move from one category to the other, but the hard part is getting them to hit that 40th percentile. They're growing, but they're not hitting that percentile that we need them. So it's like the growth is there, you're measuring it different ways. And so, but that is one of our strengths, for sure, I see. Couple things that we are changing up for this year. We went back, and I don't know if you had noticed this, but there was a brand new subgroup this year, and I don't know if any of the other schools had this, but Justice did. When you drill down into our information, into our data, we had a subgroup of homeless children, and to have a subgroup, you have to have at least 10 children. I went back and compared that to 2016, and that subgroup wasn't there. So when I went down into our data for 3rd and 4th grade, our biggest areas that had the highest novice, the least number of proficient distinguished, was special ed and homeless. And when you look at the numbers in my school, this time last year at Justice, when we took that test in the spring, we were 25% special ed. That's 1 in every 4 children. Today, we are 27%. We're getting close to 1 in every 3. So, you're working on 2 things. We're against 2 hurdles. We're trying to get them to make their yearly achievement growth, but we're also trying to get them to make their catch-up growth. Kids have to have a minimum of 80 minutes per day of reading instruction just to make achievement growth. So when you're behind, guess what? Your time's probably tripled to quadrupled. So what we've done is, somebody shared a really great book with me, and it was called Annual Growth versus Catch-Up Growth. It was a great book. And I got to looking, and I started polling the teachers and looked at how long we're teaching reading, face-to-face instruction every day. My kids were getting less than 60 minutes per day.
when the teacher sat down, and it was kind of an epiphany, especially to my second grade. We've moved our literacy block this year is 2.5 hours long, Monday through Friday, and it's the first thing of the day. Everybody does reading at the same time. We've invested $9,000 in training our staff in the Kagan strategies. If you're familiar with that, it teaches the children to engage with what they are learning. And that's a really big one, because if they can't engage with it, if they can't talk about it, then they can't learn about it, they can't write about it, they can't do anything with it. We're currently in process of completely redesigning our interventions for SPED students. Right now, our special education kids, they don't receive our intervention that the rest of the school does. We left that for our special ed teachers to do. Well, guess what? It's not working. So our special ed team has asked for the interventionists to come in this week and explain what they're doing in interventions so that we can set up our own interventions with our special ed kids. I've also gotten with Mrs. Brown and getting ready to talk to Ms. Bonfield about what they are doing, so I can send my SPED team to their schools so we can see what they're doing and how to get in on that. But Judy, I know you're going to ask about writing. I was observing one of my speech pathologists last year, and she was doing this really phenomenal writing activity called EET. It's Expanding Expression Toolkit. And so I asked them to share that with the rest of the school. And so they did, and the teachers just kind of picked that up on their own. It's a real simple type of writing program, and it uses, it sounds kind of hokey, but they use these beads, and it kind of coaches the kids to go through when you're trying to write a good paragraph and what all that entails. Because as I was talking to Mr. Taylor at Campbell today, she said, Susan, we're still trying to get them to write a good paragraph in 8th grade. And I said, guess what? That's what we're working on. But this has been something really well. It's actually more of a special education strategy, but Ms. Coleman, my speech path, was doing this lesson with my entire 3rd grade last Friday. And the teachers were very pleasantly surprised at the writing they're getting out of the kids. So I've kind of talked a little bit about writing briefly, what we're doing to improve this. What else would you like to know?
Question, going back to your special ed category, are you seeing a predominant, are those numbers increasing rapidly in the early grades?
Very. Oh, they're increasing everywhere.
Everywhere, so it's across the board.
Yeah, it is. And yes, like I say, we are almost up to 1 in every 3 now, 27% today. And our numbers are lower, so when you're looking at 27, percent of 446, you're looking at 122 children. It's a lot of kids, and that's a lot of needs. And you have to remember, that goes anywhere from speech therapy, developmental delay, specific learning disability, LMD, FMD,
yep.
You got it. And we've got the whole gamut
Yeah.
in our building.
Very, very much in line with what I've seen over the past couple of years.
It's scary right now. It is scary, and there are more. We've got several
There's more coming,
in
so.
queue that are getting ready to go through a referral process that I'm pretty good at picking out who's going to qualify. I can pretty much tell you.
Okay.
I've done this long enough, so
Okay.
just what it is. So,
Let's see, strategies to maintain growth or improve growth.
well, that's what I talked about. One thing I think that's working really well at our school, it was funny because sometimes usually when your SPED is low, your free and reduced lunch is low, but our free and reduced lunch wasn't that bad when it came to looking at the novice and the amount of proficient and distinguished. We've had the same 5 strategists for 4 years, interventionists for 4 straight years, 5 retired teachers who I call them my dream team. And they are the ones that come in and they work with the Tier 3 kids. They use the Fontes and Pinnell program. We base it on what our district benchmarks are for reading and writing. And I've kind of tracked, very informally, but I remember sending an email to Brenda and Paul last year that by January of last year, we progress monitor about every 6 weeks, and then we do a big progress monitor after every MAP testing. But by January of last year, we had tripled the number of children we got out of Tier 3 reading in 4th grade. It's really strange. There's a trend going on that everything kind of comes together for our kids in 4th grade. And remember when I was talking to you about my growth going from 3rd to 4th? They're bombing it, the K-Prep in 3rd grade, but they're getting to 4th, and that's when a lot of them are getting out of those novice categories. That's when a lot of them are getting out of Tier 3 reading intervention. So it's like it stews, it sits and stews in those lower grades, and then it all kind of comes together for them. So this year we wrote that reading grant, and we have that. I have Leslie Hammer in that position, and I've attached her primarily to first grade because with our data, that was the grade that had the lowest gap. And that's the gap we could close, because if we can send them out of first grade stronger, then guess what? We're only going to have to work on achievement growth. We're not going to have to do achievement and catch-up growth. So she is working very closely with several teachers in first grade that have. We had probably close to 20 that probably should have repeated kindergarten, but parents really didn't feel that was the best choice. And so she works very, very closely with that class and with those children.
Okay. Any other comments on gap reduction? I think you get a lot of it, but,
Tried to hit it all.
okay. Other questions? Judy? Ms. Pardo?
Your EET program, is that your writing program?
No, it's just
Okay.
one extra strategy we
Okay.
use. We still use the Journeys and the Lucy Calkins, but one program does not ever meet your full needs,
Right.
ever. And so this is another way that we found that has been successful with our kids that we want to keep expanding on.
I can assure you, from the amount of paperwork that my child brings home, they are writing.
Yeah.
a
You
lot.
got Ashley sitting there who sees it firsthand. And she's in that building quite a bit. She sees what's going on there.
I do see what's going on. And it's really aggravating to me because I'm seeing that my child, for one, is one of them that's been a victim of it. And it has nothing to do with Miss Hillman. And I'm sorry I'm putting
It's
you on the
okay.
spot.
It's okay.
Cash has an excellent teacher this year, and she does a really, really good job. And I mean, she's been amazing. However, while she's trying to do her job, my child's been choked, my child's been hit, my child's been put through the ringer. Mr. Kennedy's tried to get involved, the teacher's tried to do anything. This child does not show any signs of anything. He just randomly picks a kid, and Cash has been the lucky one. She can only do so much. We do not have enough help in these schools. Her numbers might match up, but I have been in there. I was sitting in her nurse's office yesterday, who saved my child, by the way, as they were rotating through that door. I mean, just one right after another that's on so many different medications. And we have got to get some help in these schools. I mean, I don't know. I beg and plead myself to get them some help. I've talked to Dr. Kodak about it, who sees it. I've talked to Ms. Hicks about it.
And I don't think I'm the only one. And
No,
if I'm
that's
speaking
just-
out of turn, for my.
I'm
colleagues
just
back
in
there.
your building.
No,
You're the
I
lucky
know.
one.
But I think
No, this is
the
county
number
wide. This is
of
county wide.
children with mental illness right now is at an all-time high.
Yep.
It is. I had 3 in the same week within about a 3-day span that were enrolled at a local hospital, not too far from us. 3, a kindergartner, a first grader, and a third grader. I had another third grader go yesterday. And when you think about that, and you think about my homeless population, their academics aren't the first priority. And so, if we didn't have our full-time therapist on staff, she's been a godsend. I don't know about for the other schools, but I won't ever be, I hope I never have to be without her again because working with her boss here in town, we were able to do 3 Skyped intake sessions with that facility. That was crucial because if we had to wait, they couldn't have seen the children when they were in that escalated state.
Right.
And it's staff sometimes gets hurt from that. And it's scary to the adults sometimes, and it's scary to the other children that this is a growing concern in our school.
And well, my issue is if my child's being tested and with what he's been, and you and I have talked about this, with what he's going through, we're trying to get him to focus, but he's worried about getting choked behind him. Do you really think he's going to get the best score that he can? I mean, but there's nothing more that they can do. There needs to be more people in their buildings.
We're using everyone we can as well as we can and trying to, whatever money we have, we're trying to, try to find other people to hire to come in and help. Paul's been very helpful with several children that have some pretty high medical needs that have required extra assistance. But we do have children that really have to have one-on-one help. I don't know, in the medical field, it seems that autism is really on the rise lately, and that is something. I'm not a special education teacher. I spent my years as a regular ed teacher, and that's the money that I'm investing right now of our budget pretty much goes to all staff development, because I can't grow kids unless I first grow adults, and we have sunk well, you know, my Leader in Me program and then this Kagan, and I'm seeking out, I'm working with people here in the district and outside the district trying to get more autism trainings for my staff so that we've kind of got an autism person that's well versed in our building that, hey, we need some help. You go to this person and she's going to be the one to help with that. And that's really hard to find those things right now.
I think the difference is the kids are a lot more complex than years ago. Some of these kids got better with 6 months, a year
Yeah,
of
it's
speech
not
therapy
just,
before
we
they get to
don't
school.
just
Now
educate
they
for
have to just
academics
stay in it.
anymore. That's,
So-
the whole face of this is changing completely, totally. And I think the way that we go about educating the kids is changing.
There's a lot of reasons for that, so. Okay. All right.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Sorry. I put you on the spot.
Wrong as 17.
Mr. Rhodes.
I'll be ready to start.
Had anything to say after all that?
I've got one for you too.
Well, just save it.
I've been holding out on that.
Oh,
one,
okay.
too.
All right.
I got you. Go
We,
on.
I feel like we're doing a pretty good job at Shear, considering all the things that Ms. Hillman and Ms. Bonfield have said. It's the same things are happening at OF Shear. Our achievement scores are good. Our gap score this time was a little less than we wanted, but when you drill down and look at the numbers for our students, you can see some of the, for example, in third grade math, we only had 3 students that were novice in the whole third grade. And two of them
That's pretty special.
Two of them were new to our school. One of them was tested for special ed and did not qualify. So, and then we had 9 students in 4th grade that were novice in math. So our maths, we feel like we have it going on in math, which is a complete contradiction to what MAP scores told us last year, because MAP scores kept telling us that we were really high in reading and really low in math. And then when we get the K-Prep scores back, we're really high in math and not so great in reading. So
math is not a predictor of K-Prep.
yes. But we had, in math, we tested 110 kids in 3rd and 4th grade, and 12% were novice, which was, like I said, 12 kids. 59% proficient distinguished. In reading, we were 19% novice and 50.9% proficient distinguished. We did go up in our free and reduced lunch count students just a little bit. We went from 12 to 12.8. And but our non-duplicated gap group went down from 13.4 to 12.7. So we saw a little bit there. Reading was the one where we went up, like 6 points in each one, free, reduced, and non-duplicated gap. So, and those are our only 2 areas that we have more than 10 students is special ed, and it's special ed this past year because I think we had 12 and maybe in 10 or 12 in 4th grade and about the same in 3rd grade. But anyway, we did find out some very interesting things when we drilled down, because we felt like, and the principals have talked about this and Ms. Constantine talked about it, it needs to be an individual student. We have to focus on individual students, because like I said, if you look at 12%, you think, oh goodness, 12% of them are novice, but that's only 12 students, which, we don't want any of them to be novice, but when we drill down and look at individual students, we compared it to K-Prep and to MAP. We've already taken MAP for the fall, and the MAP numbers this time did show about the same thing. We had 11 students novice in reading. 5 of those students are new to our school this year, so which I'm going to talk about that as well in a minute.
Are they from within the district or?
We get them from everywhere. We get them from Alaska. We get them from everywhere. I don't know. At math right now, we had 3 that were novice on K-Prep and 5 that were novice on MAP, and of those 8, 2 are new students to our school. So let me just go on to this while we're talking about it. If you look at the data on the data sets, and because I was looking at it and I was like, these numbers do not match. The achievement number for reading, math, and language did not match. And so I contacted KASC, and they said that you can look at it either as all students that were tested at your school or 100-day students. 100-day students are the ones that actually count for our test scores. But the numbers that we got were all students tested at our school. So if you go back through the years and you look at the students who were at our school for 100 days, if we would have looked at that this year, our reading score would have been 72 instead of 58. Our language score would have been 64.4 instead of 48. And our math score would have been 85.4 as opposed to 65.4. So the students and you ask me every year, what can you do to help me? And I'm telling you, you can help me with transitional kids. The first year we were at Shear, we had 198 students in and out of our building. The second year at Shear, we had 193 students in and out of our building. Last year, we had 180 students in and out of our building. The first 9 weeks of this year, we've had 60 students in and out of our building. So if they are
they going?
they're going everywhere.
And that's not a problem specific to your school. Everybody has to deal with it.
It's amazing. So, the students that we have and we keep and we test, and they've been in our school for 100 days, we're doing an excellent. Yeah. In every subject. That includes language and writing and, because we do have a writing policy. Even our related arts teachers are included in the writing policy, and everyone does pieces at our school. So, but that's one thing, if you could help me somehow, I don't know how, but if we can somehow squelch the transient population, sometimes they have to go because of transportation, I understand that, but, we're also close here. My district is, like one side of the street is me and one side of the street's Concrete, or one side's Strode. So it's, if there's any way we can help the elementary schools with that problem, I think you would see a lot, our scores would be much better.
It's not just transient in the community, it's transient
Oh, yeah.
in out
But
of
we
the
can
community.
take care of the transients in the community.
Yeah.
We have
I
data,
can tell
don't
you,
we?
4 or 5 kids that have left our schools, when I talk to my wife at night who teaches in another school district, they're now in her elementary school.
Right.
And students that have come to these buildings that I've talked to these principals about have come from others, and that's just because I've talked to her about the school district. They're coming from everywhere and they're moving everywhere.
But we have data within our district, don't we, that show if a kid goes from Shure to Strode or Concrete to Justice. So those, can't we use that data? And if we have X number of kids, what does it take to keep them at school A without transferring to school B?
Well,
It would be interesting to disaggregate that group out, because that's a big enough group you to get some meaningful data.
but when you look at those
I know what you're
numbers,
probably-
that's average 190 a year, and that's half our school.
And so what we're talking about, make sure I'm up to speed on this issue, is so you've got children, let's say that their dwelling is moving from place to place within the district. Is there any way that we can, within the constraints of the transportation system that we have, find some flexibility so we can keep them at the same school and give them
But see, a lot of
consistency?
times it's truant, and so if they move, then they have to ride the bus. They can ride the bus, and then that solves the truancy problem, or their chronic absence, or their behavior problems, or all those things they have to fill out when they do change in school assignment. Saying that they're going to abide by these
And we
rules.
have, in these schools right now, there are kids in that situation. We have worked out transportation to keep them in the same school because they are being successful in the school. And we've worked around the transportation because of bus, to get to their area of town, they drive past this place. We still try to work with them.
Foster care situations.
Foster care.
Yes, we keep that. Homeless
We really
situations.
try to keep those kids at our
Yeah,
school.
we really try to keep that, yeah. But that's just some of the things that we're facing. It's not just, I'm big on numbers and I want us to be the best and I want us to do the best, but, there's a lot of other factors that go into it, as you all are well aware, that, we struggle with every day. And just like Ms. Hellman was saying about the struggles we have now with autistic children and children with special needs, it's almost overwhelming.
What's your special ed percentage right now?
As far as like, I didn't include speech only. I think just special ed with accommodations would be probably about 13% maybe.
How about with speech?
Speech probably is about 30 more kids, so probably 22, 23, 24%. So
The state average usually runs 13 to 15%.
Yeah. But not including speech, we're about, I think the last I counted, we had 45 maybe.
There's an association between speech delay and autism,
Right.
so if I'm looking at special ed numbers,
Oh, okay.
I want to include speech.
Yeah.
So to circle that back around, are there any policy-related issues that we could address in terms of potentially making changes that might help at the elementary level?
As far as transient students?
As far as any of the issues that, you're talking about specifically the transient problem?
I'll say it this way, it doesn't matter what the policy is, if we can work around it and work the kid and keep the kid at school where they've been successful, we've worked around it.
Okay.
We're not looking at the policy.
Right.
Again, I'm trying to see, there's some
Yeah.
barriers that we have.
But I mean,
artificially out there
like
could
we had
consider.
two enrolled today or yesterday that have been homeschooled, and it's like one's in 4th grade and one's in 2nd grade. We had a kindergartner who didn't start school till like 3 weeks ago because they didn't have a birth certificate and they were waiting on it to come in the mail. I mean, it's just, you just wouldn't believe the stories, that we hear and see. But once we get them there, we feel like we're doing a very good job with, getting it once we get them there and keep them there. But, that is an everyday struggle.
Well,
Everyday struggle.
many of the issues that we have built up over time. And I go back and look at our community, I look at our school boards throughout the history, and not to go back and, well, I am going back and rehashing tax rates and things like this. When you refuse to take the tax rate, you might keep the realtors happy, you might keep your retired people happy, but you also keep the slumlords happy. And when you build low-income housing, you attract it in. When I was here at the high school 8 years ago, I think we were 42% free and reduced lunch. I think I heard today 54%. That's 8 years. And so we build that kind of community, and when you build that kind of community, that's what continues to happen right there. And you just have issues to where they may be running from truancy, but they may be running from the landlord too.
Right.
But then there's another place over here that they can go to, and there's another place over
30
here.
days or 60 days.
And when you got a situation to where at one time, 30 years ago, these were first-time buyer homes, now they're rental homes, and neighborhoods have went down. And so it's something that just happens over 20-some years, and all of a sudden it comes to a head sometime. And what we're seeing is coming to a head. Every issue that we have, is related a lot back to lack of community interest in children that we have in Clark County.
And also on those same lines, we have so many grandparents and great aunts and great, or neighbors that are raising the
Exactly.
kids.
Statewide, that number is 15-16% and growing kids who are in foster care out of their primary. Actually, no, it's 12% in foster care, and 20% with grandparents.
We have a lot that are, and they're doing a pretty good job when they're there.
We had 2 kids that we cannot find. They have disappeared. We can't find them.
Everybody knows stability
Yeah.
is the biggest thing for these kids, the type of kids that we have now. When you have the free and reduced lunch, you have those issues. Stability is the
Right.
biggest thing you can have. If you can keep them there and nurture them, you're going to see progress.
And if there's not any other questions, or if there are, I'll be glad to answer them. But I'd like to end on a positive note saying that our male students.
Actually, I'm going to ask you about writing growth and gaps.
Oh, well,
Sorry.
I don't know what else to say about it, but.
What are you doing it for writing in your school?
We have a writing policy that everyone follows, including the related arts.
Okay.
And every student in my school writes. I observed a teacher today, and they read a story of the Magnificent something, and then they went, as soon as they got through doing it, she called them over, she got them in a big huddle and whispered what they were going to do for this writing activity, and they all were just so excited. They took the paper back and they started writing just like that. And there's a parade of students through my office every day. People with those kids bringing their writing pieces up and sharing them with me. But so I feel like we're doing a good job with writing. I don't think that the test matches how we teach writing, because there's so much that we do that You know, even the way we assess little things like, you know, an exit slip. Well, they write something on a Post-it note. They write something on an index card. It's not that they're writing a big eloquent paragraph. Not that that's not good. They need to be able to do that eventually. But a lot of the stuff that we do to assess them up until, you know, portfolio time, a lot of that writing is very specific, technical, writing for a very specific purpose instead of writing for enjoyment and narratives and those kind of things. But I feel like our teachers do a great job teaching writing overall.
Growth?
Growth, we still have to get we have a lot of kids that are at proficient and distinguished. We just have to keep them there. And then we have to move those kids up from, that's where we you know, when we talk about individual kids and we look at the MAP scores, we look at the K-Prep scores, and those are the kids that we pull for our RTI groups. And I will say that, you know, back to the question or the sentiment about the retired teachers, I mean, I have 3 that, you know, each one of them has 40 years experience at least. And, you know, I don't know what we would do without them.
Yeah, that's a problem that if that comes down from the state, we're gonna have to address that on the board level, because I think that's a key role and some of the key personnel that you all are using, so. And GAP?
Like I said, with our free and reduced lunch group, which as of last week, one day, I think I emailed Ms. Wimber, and I think we're 64% free and reduced lunch, so, which is not the highest, but, you know, it's not the lowest either, but we just have to keep focusing on what those kids need and meeting them where they are.
Okay. Okay, other questions?
Yes. How's your technology?
Oh, well, it's hit and miss sometimes. No, we just purchased a new lab. So we do have because I was told after 3 more updates it would be gone, the one we had. So we did purchase a new, the CPUs. We kept our monitors and so forth. But I'm fortunate because, you know, I've begged, borrowed, and stolen to get, we have 2 labs this year. And one of them was donated to us from BCTC a couple of years ago. And those computers are still pretty good. And then we have those not MacBooks. What
We
are they
have
called?
2 iPad
2 iPad cards and then
And a Chromebook.
and a Chromebook card.
And what about your teachers? Are they good on their technology?
No, we probably are. No, you mean the school tech? No, our school technology like smart boards and interwrite boards and all that is,
I
it's
thought
finished.
we were getting new.
We are.
It still hasn't came in, or?
I've talked to Maggie, it's ordered, there's stuff to replace, it's at Strode and at Shear.
Yes, because I mean, when I was in Shear, they're in desperate need.
That's our next 2 schools.
And then next will be teacher computers. That'll be
Yeah,
our
that's
next
part
need.
of it.
Yeah.
So how
That's also
long
working
before
at
those,
Yeah.
how long before those will come in?
Some of them are in their programming some things right now. I'll talk to Mike and see when that's going to make it to the building, but they're programming some of the workstations right now.
But we've been lucky to get some stuff donated, and that's helped us along the way. But we're in need of, everybody needs new whatevers, you know, clear touches or whatever works. Yes.
That's what we need, the
Yeah.
teachers.
Yeah. And I'd like to thank some of my council members for showing up tonight and listening to data reports. And not that they haven't already heard it, but
Thank you.
thank
You were gonna
all.
tell us some good news too,
Oh, yeah, about the males.
Yeah, about males.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we'd like to hear something good about males.
Well, no, I said the male students have met their AMO in math for 2 years in a row. So we're doing something right with the boys in math. Yeah. And of those novice in 3rd grade, only one of them was a boy. So,
Okay.
yeah.
How many male teachers do you have in your building?
I had, well, the year of the last year, we had 1, 2, 3, 4. This year we just have 2. 2 of them moved on.
All right.
But I'll hire some more if you want me to.
Yes.
Ms. Bonfield, I have a question for you. What are your special ed numbers running right now?
I have 118 special ed students out of 502. So right now I'm at 22%.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm just trying to get an idea, so this is district-wide, so.
I remember about 12 years ago when we went over 13%, how alarmed we were.
I consider what I've seen in the nursery across the street, you know, because you guys, your kids are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. That's not a surprise to me at all, so, unfortunately. Okay.
I'm gonna look up my sped population.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you.
Because that's one thing I probably don't have in front of me. Okay, I'm just gonna focus on what I have, and we'll go ahead and begin.
Okay.
So for Strode Station, our overall achievement, if you want to show that first screen. Our overall achievement was 86.3, which is up from last year, 4.7 points. Our gap is 77 2/10, which is up 5 4/10 points from last year. And our growth is 65 4/10, which is up 3 9/10 points from last year. So the number of proficient and distinguished in reading was at 65, which is up 5. Math was 70.9, which is up 7 1/10 points, and language mechanics is at 56 3/10, which was up 2 6/10 points from last year. So we were above the district and the state in all areas. We met all of our proficiency targets except for reading. We missed it by 1 5/10 of a point. So we're going to continue to focus on that. And as far as what are we doing to close that achievement gap, it's just like all of my colleagues have mentioned up here. It's about drilling down to individual students and, you know, progress monitoring their work throughout the year to make sure that they are able to meet proficiency when the end of the year comes. I have 3 Title I teachers that collaborate with grade level teachers to provide small group reading instruction. And using the MAP screeners so far, I think in 3rd grade we have 59% that are proficient and distinguished in reading and 57% in math. In 4th grade, our current MAP data shows 64% that are proficient and distinguished in reading, and in math 75%. So we're continuing to use that as our universal screener, and we meet weekly. Mrs. Chirac is a great partner, and then I also have Ms. Blevins, my 1st grade teacher, and Amy Shoemaker, my counsel and kindergarten teacher here. And they will be free to add to my comments, but I'm very supported by Mrs. Chirac. We meet with our teachers once a week, and we do progress monitoring, and we look at all the data, and we're making sure that, you know, we're teaching the standards and meeting student needs. As far as areas for continued growth, what are we going to do to maintain our growth? Well, in reading, we still have 40 9/10 points from 100 that we need to, you know, continue to work on, focus on reading. We're not making the growth that I want to make in reading. And again, it's about drilling down to individual students and helping them. We use the Fontes and Pinnell, just like the other schools do, as our assessment for literacy, for fluency and comprehension. So we're working on that. We continue to use the Lexia Core 5 program to assist students with, you know, it actually can drill down and provide, you know, individual instruction in reading, like sub-skills and things that they need. We are using our Journeys curriculum with Fidelity, and it does include our, you know, a writing component, which my kindergarten teacher, Amy's like, we put new writing stuff up today, and I was like, oh, that's my baby. So we are writing, you know, it is important for us to write, and we know that, and we also know we need to grow in that area, and we need to support our 5th grade population. So I want the board to know that, you know, all of my colleagues recognize that, and we are very supportive of each other. We have a great district support staff that help us with that, and so we know that is an area to grow in, and we want to tackle that and work together, addressing standards and talking about a process that makes sure that students are writing. Let's see, I guess you wanted to talk about GAP, right? Okay, let me talk about GAP. Our gap groups at Strode Station were the free and reduced. I have a gap of African American and students with disability, and I also have a gap group of ELL. I think I'm the largest population of ELL in the district. So those are my gap groups, and I'm going to be honest, in reading, our highest population that scored novice is our Hispanic group. So we know that is an area we need to look at, and it's just hard when that's not your, it's not your first language, and we know that that's an area we need to improve on. So we're going to work at that. We're going to look at that gap group, and also with our free and reduced, we had 19.7% score novice, but that is down from 22 9/10. And I must say that we did reduce it in ELL too, because last year it was 41%, and now it's at 26%. So we know that those are gap groups that we need to address. And in math, again, our highest scoring novice is our Hispanic subgroup and our students with disability. But they went down from 34% last year to 11% this year. So, we're trying to work. And again, I want to say that, we don't do this in isolation. We are very close-knit administrators, and we work together to see, what's working for you. And I know our populations are different in some areas, but we want to do what's right for kids, and that's our goal. Language mechanics, that is an area of concern for us at Strode Station. 20 of all students, 20% scored novice, and I want that to go down. So we're going to again look at that with our staff. And at Strode Station, we did have the opportunity to meet. I think it was October the 10th, and all the staff came in, and I worked them for about 2.5 hours, looking at the data and just drilling down and looking at it. How can we improve that as a staff? So I think that's important for all schools to do that, to kind of recognize where you are in your current state and where you want to be. So that's what we're doing. And in writing, it's the same thing that you're going to hear from me that you heard from Julie and Susan and Mark. We have a writing plan. We have a writing policy. We know the importance of writing for learning, to demonstrate learning, and writing for authentic purposes. And our teachers are doing that. I do recognize that we have a problem and that we need to support our 5th grade teachers. And I think that's a conversation that the district, we feel that is an area of need, and we're going to try to look at that at our grade level meetings and, try to come up with some ideas to support each other, look at the writing standards, look at what everybody's doing and how we can improve in that. So, is there anything else you had a question for me?
Anybody?
No questions?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank all 4 elementary teachers. I know you all are working in challenging times. I think some of the things you've talked about are reflections of some of the things that are going on in the community at large. And we as a school board are being asked to remedy some of the things that are happening that are way, way beyond our control. And we're really expected to kind of fix things and do really well with some very challenging situations. And I appreciate everybody's efforts there. So. Y'all can go home because we're just going to talk about money the rest of the time. So, thank you.
Thank you all.
We didn't say we could go.
No, I'm leaving. See?
Actually, if you want a 5-minute recess, we could do that. Let's do a 5-minute recess.
Sorry. I walked through Gordy in the floor. So.
4 PM. The next item under Student Support Services is number 3, consider approval of bids and alternates for the GRC Athletic Complex.
Okay, you have with your packet the final bid tabulation sheet. It was the same tabulation sheet you saw last board meeting, last Tuesday, with that one exception that Joe Nance alluded to earlier with the flooring, with Martin Flooring.
Can you shed a little bit of light on that?
On flooring?
Yeah.
Yeah, our contractor, if I may, John, share what you shared, had previous experience with the low bid. Hasn't been a pleasant experience with their experience with that particular contractor. And with Martin, we have several floors that Martin has addressed in our district, and we really like their work, and we really feel that it's worth $5,600 additional monies to go with a reputable person that both our construction management firm has had good experiences with and who has done some floors for us.
Do you have any experience with the low bidder?
No.
We do.
Oh, do we have it with Aztec?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Do you have any experience with the low bidder that would say, okay, I've had enough problems with these people to say I need to go with the higher bidder?
I have not worked with them personally, but they've done some work for Codell, specifically over UK, that apparently was just a mess. To the point where we feel strongly to recommend a second bidder.
Okay.
Was this information that just came about in the last week, or did you know it before, and it kind of got overlooked because it's kind of small in the whole scheme of things?
After bid day, I didn't even know that they were on the radar to bid the project, personally, Aztec. But from the point of bid opening, yes.
Okay, we just sort of overlooked it last week.
And it's such a huge piece for us that, for $5,600, we think it's just worth the investment to go with a reputable company that we've had some good experience with.
Okay. All right. Other discussion? If not, motion is ordered to consider approval of bids and alternates for the GRC Athletic Complex as presented by Mr. Stump.
I'll make that motion as written.
Motion by Mr. Parado,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie.
Could we clarify the dollar amount just to make sure we're all on the
Yes.
same page on it and have this included? That'd be okay with you
That's
guys?
fine with me.
This is from, is it 21,304,417?
I see $21,310,090.
Okay, I got the wrong one out then.
That's your base bid amount.
That's what's on the
I
bid.
have just a question. Is this just for the athletic complex and not the gym? The way it's worded on the agenda?
No, that's just, the complex being both projects. Do that-
Gordy, can you clarify your motion to include GRC competition gym athletic upgrades and the dollar amount?
I will
So
do it
we're-
as you said there, with the
Okay.
dollar amount.
Okay, so the motion on the table by Mr. Parado is to consider approval of bids and alternates for the GRC competition gym and athletic complex as presented by Mr. Stump for the total dollar value of $21,310,096. Good, Gordy?
It's good.
All right, second?
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
And for future reference, I can allude to it that way in the
Okay.
motion.
Because in the other things and all the documents and stuff, it was all.
Yeah, it says competition
Yeah,
gym and athletic
complex.
complex.
Well, we do need to be
Yeah.
consistent. I'll make a point to do that.
Okay. All right, next item is consider approval of special inspection services for the GRC competition gym and athletic complex project.
Okay, I've included the bid tabulation sheet for these particular services in your packet. We had 3 bids, one from S&ME for $273,625, another from Geotechnology for $180,500, and L.E. Gregg withdrew their proposal. So in looking at the 2 bids, your architects are recommending that we go with the low bid of $180,500 from Geotechnology. And their bid also included the work overseeing your 3 alternate projects, 6, 7, and 8 alternates, which include your tennis courts, your grass mass grading project, and your bleachers, your visitor bleachers.
Did we not have the proposal stuff from the other bidder, S&ME? Just the geotech one was all that was in our packet.
Right, that's the only one that was forwarded to me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Did we not get
because
to
of,
see the other?
If you'd like to, I can make you aware that we did not think that there was a reason to spend an extra $90,000 to move from, geotechnology, which we've had some success with. We've had them for versus the SNME have that kind of a price difference.
Because I'm just in the proposal business. I like to
Right.
read the whole thing, because sometimes you see stuff that's not necessarily shown just in the bottom line, but though I don't object to the geotechnology, I just like to see the information.
Do you think the SNME bid covered all the aspects of what was requested when you sent out this RFP?
Yeah, I'm sure it did cover everything. They're a good firm also. I think they had a lot more money in it over just the idea of whatever earthwork, along with all the concrete and all the steel and everything like that was going to be involved. I think geotechnology, we kind of talked with them, vetted them on all the different inspector certifications that were needed. That was one of the problems with L.E. Gregg. They didn't have some of the welding certifications that were required.
SME was on the high school property.
Right, I was going to say, they did the rest of it, so.
And geotechnology is formerly Thielen.
Yes.
And because unfortunately, this is another one of our variance items. Back in August, we projected this to be $170,000, and it's come in at $180,500.
That's also
Well,
including your 3 alternates.
It was actually $145 for the base bid. If you look in the proposal, and as Hicks talked about, the base bid lump sum was $145,000 for the work. They had an additional $3,500 to check the visitor bleachers, $14,000 for the tennis courts, and $18,000 for all the mass grading. So for an additional $35,500. So, in fact, I had gone back and looked, that if we had the 145 as a bid, and even with commissioning of another 26, we'd have been 171,865 with what you're going to look at next for the commissioning. So we would have been really close to having the 170 serve both special inspections and commissioning.
Well, that would have been useful to share. Because I was just simply looking at what we had in this one and didn't see the difference in.
Right.
All right, other questions or discussion? If not, a motion is in order to consider approval of geotechnology to perform special inspection services for the GRC Performance Gym and Athletic Complex in the amount of $180,500.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Peridot,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next up is commissioning services for the Performance Gym and Athletic Complex.
Okay, commissioning services to oversee your HVAC systems for both the gymnasium and athletic project. The stadium was shared with us by Schrott Tate Wilson. 2 bids came in, one from ZH Commissioning at $26,865 and another one from Facilities Commissioning Group for $37,750. And their recommendation is to go with the lower bid of ZH Commissioning, also citing their experience with this company and their satisfaction with previous projects and working with this particular company. They did not send me the tab sheet or the specific proposals. We can get those for you if you'd like, but those were not submitted to us.
If you could just send us to me electronically, that would be great.
Sure.
Well, let's talk about commissioning, I guess. First of all, up through August, this is a 0 item on all the estimates. Tell us what commissioning is. I have no idea what commissioning is, and then tell us why we went from 0 to $26,865. And this is
Okay, one of the things is that if you look on your BG1, there's not a specific line item for commissioning, but it did have special inspections.
I was going off the BG3.
Right, on the BG3, right, nothing was included. We still had the 170 for the special inspections on the BG3. From what I can gather looking back, there were conversations had that we were thinking that special inspections would be like 150 and commissioning would be 20,000. So that's how we ended up with the 170 is my best backwards view over where we were on the BG1. And you're right, at the time of the BG3, we should have probably broken that out and showed a 150 and 20 on the BG3.
free, and I'll make sure going forward to have a conversation with staff about being more diligent about that. With that said, let me share what commissioning is all about. There is commissioning that we actually did at GRC High School, which was requested but not a requirement from Housing, Building, and Construction back when the high school was permitted and built. Now there is a commissioning requirement that goes along with the desire to be more energy efficient. The energy efficiency for your R values for insulation and your requirements for lighting, upgrades, and particularly lighting controls and HVAC controls are what commissioning is dealing with. And so right now, the building code requires that. It has been an ongoing kind of process as to what was to be included. I talked with Shrout Tate Wilson, with Corey Sherrard, about what we have included in, and actually because of the nature of the project here and the size of it in terms of the size of the gym and the 4 units that we have and exhaust fans, we're looking for this price here, this $26,000, to look at all the pieces of equipment. One of the things that we're talking about, because it's not specifically laid out, is when you're talking about a new elementary school or a new high school, where you're going to have a commissioning agent look at every piece of equipment. There's no real requirement in the code, or there's they're just actually wanting to make sure that things have been tested or a representative sample, and there's what does that really mean? But for you right now, with what you're looking to approve here, talking with Ms. Sherrard, that we do have a commissioning agent that would be looking at the actual equipment on site to make sure it matches the shop drawings that have been approved and our specifications in terms of the actual, value, tonnage, CFM, cubic feet per minute that is being moved in terms of the air, all the requirements. Same thing for lighting. We have a lighting control as a part of that to make sure that we're actually dealing with light levels, light controls, and HVAC controls along with the equipment. So they'll be there for the startup to make sure that things are installed, and as they start things up, make sure we're getting the proper HVAC exhaust and supply.
Make sure that it meets the specs that it's supposed to, that guarantee that it meets the specs that it was set out to
That
do.
it was designed for.
So, was this item something that was included in the plan reviewer comments when plans were submitted, or is this something that's been known the whole time and it was a factor of not being broken out on the BG3?
Most of it is a factor of not being broken out, not being able to actually request proposals from firms until you have drawings and kind of the project has been created to where somebody can give you a number. So at the creation of the BG1, when you're starting the project, we're trying to estimate what we think that would be. And like I said, it's all under the other on the BG1 when you have, survey and geotech. And that's one of the numbers that actually went down. I think we originally had like $45,000 or something there. I think that kind of came down a little bit. Go back. But with 170 being kind of a 150 and a 20, and we should have broken that out on the BG3 to be more specific, so.
At HBC, did you all get an electronic document that I might refer to as plan reviewer comments that perhaps Amy Eveler would have given you all?
In the form, the plan review, we can send you, it's in the form of a letter that's, 8.5 by 11 is all we really received from them.
Does that letter address the occupancy classification issue?
Yes.
Okay. If you could share that, I'd love to have it just for my files, and certainly everyone else on the board also if they wanted it, if it's electronic.
Right.
And just for further note, the BG1 that you'll be looking at here in a moment for approval does include budgeting for both low bids that you've looked at, both for special inspections and for commissioning. It's already included in your BG1.
Okay. Other questions or discussion? Now, a motion is in order to approve B&H commissioning for commissioning services for the Performance Gym and GRC Performance Gym and Athletic Complex project in the amount of $26,865.
I'll make that motion.
I'm doing all your work tonight for you, Gordy.
You're doing a really good job.
Second?
Here.
Oh, second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next up is a revised BG1.
BG1 that was presented to you earlier by Joe Nance, asking the board to approve it as designed.
Okay, I'm going to go over the amounts one more time so we're all straight. So on the left side is costs. Construction costs, $21,310,096. Architect and engineer fee, $1,150,745.18. Structure manager fee, $716,891.82. Bond discount, $385,100. Fiscal agent fee, $89,800. Contingency, $1,065,504.80. Equipment/furnishings, $242,020. Special inspection and commission, $230. No, more than that, $230,500. I wanted that to be lower, sorry. Survey and geotech, $41,685. Plan review fee/prints, $27,831. Bank and rating, $26,000. Total project cost, $25,286,173.80. How we pay for it? SFCC cash requirement, $156,980.04. SFCC bond sale, $1,565,000. Local FSPK bond sale, $17,690,000. General fund cash we are spending, $2,906,245. Building fund cash we're spending, $450,000. BG 11-190 balances be transferred to this project, that's $335,552.86. And then BG 08-107 balance will be transferred to this project, $2,182,395.90. So the project cost of the funds and the funds we will spend or levy will also be $25,286,173.80. Any questions?
Yeah, could we talk about two items that were included in the BG1 that changed significantly from the August version? The first one is in the calculation of the construction manager fee. That's made up of two components, a percentage of the project component and then also a number of months times a monthly fee. It appears that from last September up to August, there was an assumption that this would be a 20-month project, and now this has changed to being a 24-month project. And so the impact on us is $52,000. Could we talk about what's changed in the project scope in the last 2 months that's increased that fee by $52,000?
That original schedule was based on the schematic and the DD drawings. Between those time periods you're talking about was when the plans were finished. And from reviewing the plans, we're estimating a 24-month project.
When did you all figure that out?
We're in the final review of the plans prior to going to bid.
Okay. Well, it's certainly disappointing. If it turns out that everything falls into place and it's 23 months or something like that, is that you'll bill for, I guess you'll bill for whatever it is. So if it's 23 months, you bill for that. If it's 25 months, you bill for that, and that's how it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The plan, the printing, or the plan review fee, let's see what else is on that line. Plan review fee and prints increased by $7,831. What's causing that increase?
I know from looking back, the plan review fee itself ended up being $9,980. That's in the letter I'll send you from HBC. And then the balance of that, I think, is just the cost for printing for the bidding phase that Codell handled as far as the plan distribution.
The actual per print set on this one's $420. Being as we had two sets of prints, we had one set for the athletic complex, one set for the gym. It's a larger bid set than a typical job. I don't know the sheet count, but that $420 was an expensive set of plans.
And I guess the plan review fee, that bumped up by just a smidgen, again, because of our classification difference between education and assembly.
That was like $640, and that was at the time that we had the original BG1, we didn't even have the exact square footage of the building until the plans had been developed. So again, that $20,000 as a placeholder for that line item on the BG1 initially never really changed over time. And then one of the things I guess I would share from my perspective is that having more plans out there is where you get some of the bidding competition that you hope to achieve, to where you'll have, more people come to the table and better bids than if you just had, just a few plans out there and limited number of bidders.
I do know that Lean Imaging charged for downloadable plans on this project. It's a reduced rate, but because of the size, I think it was $150 downloadable.
Yeah, so it was a $300 deposit to get the set of plans, but then if you returned them, you got your $300 back?
That's right.
But I guess we were charged $420 for it. So it almost gave people an incentive to get paper plans because it was a net cost of $0 versus $150 for electronic plans. So it might be something to look at in the future on that.
What happens to the plans that are returned?
Couple things. Generally speaking, we'll try to capture some of those plans that are returned in order to have for the successful bidders, because they like to have extra sets for the office, the job trailer, and a markup set kind of thing that they can have or out in the mud. In the
That
field.
was my next question, is what do the bidders do
Right.
for additional sets? Do they have to pay for those, or do they come back and get them or just use them?
Right, we try to capture those, like I say, from Lynn, so you've bought those, you have those, we get a number from them, and then we can, and a lot of times there'll be more plans out there than what people really want, and so at the end, Lynn asks us if we really want those plans, or they end up being recycled. And sometimes people don't return their deposit, so you'll end up having that.
Those checks come back to us, and then they get deposited back into the account.
I guess as a preview of coming attractions, because there's been some costs that have come in higher than we wanted, I'll be, as we talk about this project in the future, encouraging you all strongly to work on value engineering value engineering items. I'm going to make a little thermometer that I'm going to bring to every meeting of every time you all identify some, so we can keep track of those to try to, offset some of these. And again, we've got to put this in your all's hands, to strongly encourage you all to go through and see what options there might be there, to then discuss, with the board as the owner representative on it, because we want to, try to find every opportunity that we can. We don't want to detract from the beauty of the project. It's a beautiful project you all have designed, but if there's items that, or something we can make a little tweak here, tweak there, we'd certainly love to be included in the consideration of that. The sooner the better, that way that people are not, way down the road on stuff like that. So it'll be a broken record, but I'll keep harping on that. Please find every opportunity you can to bring those in front of us.
Any other questions about the revised BG1? This will be the final BG1 opposed to it, so there'll be more changes, but this is the last one before we actually sell bonds. So, other questions or comments? If not, a motion is in order to approve the revised BG1 for the GRC Performance Gym and Athletic Complex project as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Heisel.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next up is approval to enter into an interim contract with Rising Sun Developing to begin earthwork and caissons.
We're asking the board to consider approval of an interim contract with Rising Sun that would basically function as a bridge for payment to this company to begin the work more expediently. With an interim contract, they could begin work as soon as KDE approves the project and the contract. And it would be based on the same scope of work that is under their large base bid package. The contract would simply allow us to use general fund dollars to pay the contractor so that they could start sooner, or start as soon as the approval was given to begin.
Question, the contract says, well, say the Clark County Board of Education enters into contract with Rising Sun, putting in force the attached contract. So what is the attached contract? Because we only have this piece of paper.
Right, that was shared with me by Codell, is just the sample KDE contract, and I was told that if the board were to approve us initiating this contract, that we get it completed and signed.
This is simply a supplement to their actual contract, which would be prepared.
Yeah, but it's the other contract is attached to this by this language. So if I'm voting on this, I'm voting on the other contract at the same time.
We haven't seen.
We haven't seen it. That's like when you have to sign a contract, it says Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, or attached by reference. That's part of the contract. So all I'm presented here is this one piece of paper, and it incorporates this other contract by reference, and I don't see the other contract, so I don't know what I'm voting on.
Right, we would begin writing the contract tomorrow, since the bid was approved tonight. It would be in place probably tomorrow, be completed tomorrow. We've got all the documentation. The last few bids came in today. They're copies of the bonds and insurance. So, I mean, the contract can be prepared tomorrow.
And it certainly seems like we need to get our legal counsel to approve this, because it is not a trivial amount of money. We want to make sure that what we're guaranteeing to pay is we're getting the correct performance out of it guaranteed. I don't know how we bridge that little gap since that seat is empty tonight. And there's not a substitute sitting in that chair tonight.
There will be in a few minutes.
Here.
Oh, yeah. I didn't see that. Oh, Rich. We did this at the high school, on the high school property. We did the same thing.
Is it possible that you could give us authority to enter into the contract contingent upon the board attorney's approval after having seen the contract?
When is our board attorney going to be here to see the contract?
Probably the length of time it's gonna be before he sees it, it'll go through the normal process, and we'll lose a couple more weeks. My thing with doing this was it gains us potentially a couple or 3 weeks of starting to move dirt before colder weather and some things. That's what we did at the high school. Like I said, when we started the high school, we did an interim contract. Any money that's spent
But
comes
we
out of the
had the contract, didn't we?
The sample contract, I mean, it's in the volume 1 spec book. The only additional information would be their actual bid, their formal proposal, and the performance payment bond.
Well, if our attorney is going to be out of pocket for a while, there's probably other attorneys that could take a look at this. And if you all have it tomorrow, I mean, again, we're just in the discussion phase of how we might bridge this gap. It would, from my standpoint, it'd certainly make me feel a lot more comfortable considering the dollar amount involved if an attorney could look at that and look at the fill-in contract and say, yes, this is fine. And doesn't necessarily have to be Mr. Elkins, but it would seem like somebody who's could represent the board's interest in that behalf. I mean, is that asking too much? And I'm not talking about delaying it 2 weeks. Is it ready tomorrow? Maybe an attorney could look at it tomorrow. And we're talking about, potentially.
KDE approval also, they'll look through the contract too, it's subject to their approval also.
Mr. Elkins can't look over it?
I
I
don't
don't know where
know.
he's at, but.
He's not available.
In Montana.
I have his address.
By horseback.
I know where he's at.
He's not exactly in dinner range, though.
Yeah, I have to wait till he comes to town, which they did today, so it might be a few more days.
I can get with John Hagan and Ron, and we can look at and try to get another attorney. I mean, get the contract together, and then we can go from there.
But then we would require another board meeting to approve the contract formally. I don't think our next meeting's scheduled until the regular session.
No, there's another student achievement meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Well, I suppose a different way to do that is we could go ahead and set, if we could set a meeting, I don't know, for 3 days from now or something like that, or we could potentially do a resolution that's contingent upon an attorney that's,
KD approved.
Yeah.
KD's got the ultimate say, and then.
well, I think we want to get, our representative is looking out for our best interest, which we can contract for to review it.
Yeah, our goal is to get the project started as soon as we can, so we're not 24, 25 months down the road paying people still for projects that were delayed over the winter time.
I understand that, but I just want to make sure that somebody, since I have not gone to law school,
I understand.
has looked at it. And if we can craft wording that makes it contingent upon it, then perhaps we could bridge the gap and achieve the best of both worlds.
I'm good with that.
The issue with this is we're voting on a contract we don't see. So I have an issue with that.
So the contract you're talking about and the bid specs, there's a contract in here that's referred to as document A701. Is that, or which one is it? Since you said in the bid specs, and I've got them right here, which one are we talking about?
AA, I forget which it is in the spec book, but it'll say standard agreement between Board of Education and contractor.
Or a contractor.
Construction manager as advisor.
Would it be helpful to take another 5-minute break and find that document so perhaps
Fine
we
with
could see
that.
it?
Can you find it and print it and distribute it to us?
We have a spec book here?
I don't know.
Well, I've got it right here on a flash drive.
Okay, yeah, it should be on there.
Have you got one in your pocket?
Yeah, I got it, that's right, I got a flash drive in the pocket. Yeah, it's in the front end, volume 1. I can find it.
Well, you can print it out and distribute it that, we'll take a look at it and then go from there. How's that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
Great.
Print it. We can print it.
Fire.
Board's back in recess at 8:16 PM.
Fire it up.
Some of those good new printers we can use?
Homework, that'd be
All right, my suggestions would be, let's fill in the blanks on the interim contract, because I'm not into giving blank checks to anybody. This is a big blank check. So the interim contract should read, the Clark County Board of Education enters into the contract with Rising Sun Development Company, putting in force the attached contract, which is AIA document A232, 2009, with supplementary conditions. Authorizing the contract to proceed with the work up to a monetary amount not to exceed $500,000. This interim contract becomes null and void upon the sale of the school revenue bonds. The witness whereof, the parties hereto have executed a copy of this agreement. The date is October 24th, 2017, and then contractor, witnesses, and owner is us. Is that okay with everybody? And I've reviewed the attached document. I think that should be, that needs to be penciled in there. That this is what's part of it, so.
How many sections are there?
Here?
Yes.
The official document would be, let's see.
I'm on 14. How far does it go?
So,
You said it went, at least you said it went from page 50.
00300 is the section on the top there. Articles are 1 through 15.
Oh, 15, okay, I think I'm on Article 14.
And then there are addenda, which are specific to this contract. And there are 10 pages of that, and then 1 page of signatures. Those are supplementary conditions which change some of the standard terms of the contract. This is the same contract that's going to be offered to all of our contractors, right? Okay.
So the proposal is to approve this interim contract that references that. Or are we also then approving that contract?
You'd be approving this by extension.
This is an interim.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
only for Rising Sun. It affects no other contractors at this point.
That's correct.
And then after the bonds have been sold, then this interim part would,
Null and void.
that would go away, but the remaining contract behind it then would stay in place.
Right.
So this is just to give them some assurance that,
There'll be some money.
But since we don't have bonds approved, we don't have bonds
So if a
sold
payout
yet.
comes in between now and when the bonds are sold and the money's in our account, we have to pay it out of general fund.
No, you paid out the construction money that's already cash that you put into the
Which used to be
construction.
general fund.
That's true. We have, yeah,
And then once the bonds are sold, that would be replaced.
we have about 5 million, we'll have about 5 million in cash in that fund between what we move out of general fund and leftovers from other places. So
This contract was in the amount of 500,000, not to exceed.
And that's an automatic guarantee that the 500,000 that's coming from general fund through the construction fund will be reimbursed to the general fund after the bond sale.
Yes.
And no action is required on our part to do that.
what do you,
You would have to reimburse it to come out of the money already appropriated.
it'll come straight from Fund 360.
Right.
yeah.
Right, but from some
If
of
any
the
is spent.
funds that are currently in 360 came from general fund, Fund 1,
Right, but they're over there now.
They're over there sitting.
already
And
transferred.
we'll pull from that, so there won't be a reimbursement to the general fund.
It just would be for that line item on the.
Yeah, because unlike other building funds, we start this one starts off with 5 million or so in it. And we're not,
Just
you know,
for that
and then we're
project.
selling another 19 million in bonds. So let's say when we built the ATC, let's see, we had contingency left over from the high school, and then we sold bonds for the rest. When we did Concrite, I don't think we put a minimum amount of money into that. So something like this would have been a problem, because I don't remember how much cash we had in the Concrite fund, but it wasn't much. We sent it, financed that most of the bond sales. So.
Practically in the next 4 weeks from today, what do you think physically will get done? And so what I'm addressing is in a worst-case scenario, had the bond sale, and because of something that's happened in the world that's upset the balance of the entire world, bonds don't sell. Realistically, what do you think will really get done if the world is turned upside down in 4 weeks? Which will probably have other issues to deal with.
All the topsoil would be stripped, which in itself is a huge amount of dirt to be moved. They'd start on the site mass grading portion. All this is gonna be taking place at one time. They're not gonna do the gym area first. The entire site would be stripped.
when you say the entire site, so the work that they would start on is the gym footprint and the football field and all of that.
Yeah.
And the masquerade.
But in the next 4 weeks, what do you think realistically they would do?
I would hope all the topsoil will be moved.
For everything?
For everything.
They can get a lot done if we haven't had a freeze yet. So.
All the topsoil for the entire site is gonna be stockpiled in the area of the tennis courts. So everything has to be moved to that location. That's the first thing that has to happen. That'll take some weeks in itself. So I anticipate just the site work take a couple months overall. About $1.5 million worth a year, just the site work.
But if we were just ultra conservative, what are they gonna really get done the next 4 weeks?
Dollar-wise?
If the bonds don't sell, then we'll have to drop back and punt and let's say we put all the topsoil back.
Just moving their equipment in is expensive. Just, I mean, I'd hate to throw in $300,000, $400,000 probably. In all likelihood, they may not even turn a bill in that time.
Why?
But this tells them, you know, hey, go to work. You would get paid if you turn a bill in that meantime.
If they turn it in a timely manner.
Yes.
Other discussion? All right. Want me to read the fill in the blanks in the interim contract again and put it up for a vote?
Yes.
All right, so the blanks say the Clark County Board of Education enters into contract with Rising Sun Developing, putting in force the attached contract, which is A232, 2009, with supplementary conditions, authorizing the contractor to proceed with the work up to a monetary amount not to exceed $500,000. This interim contract becomes null and void upon sale of the school revenue bonds. Witness where other parties here to have executed a copy of this agreement the day of October 24th, 2017, with signatures. So would anyone like to make a motion to approve that contract as described?
I move that we approve that contract as described.
Motion by Ms. Hicks,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. May the construction work begin. Last item is 8, consider the adoption of a resolution authorizing the Clark County School District Finance Corporation to issue revenue bonds for the GRC Performance Gym and Athletic Complex project.
It's your second required process for initiating into the bond sale. The resolution, sample resolution has been attached to your agenda.
Yes, the resolution reads as follows. Resolution of the Board of Education of the Clark County School District affirming the acceptance of an offer of assistance from the Kentucky School Facilities Construction Commission, authorizing and approving the execution of a participation agreement with said commission, authorizing and approving the execution of a contract, lease, and option with the Clark County School District Finance Corporation, and any further necessary instruments, approving certain architect's plans for the construction of a certain school building project, and approving the plan of financing the cost of said project. Discussion? Yes?
Would we be able to, within that or at the end of it, reference what has been handed out to us from Ross Sinclair as the, I guess especially page 3, the projected principal payments and
You did.
interest
I
costs?
think, looking at that, I think you did, because you're incorporating the School District Finance Corporation resolution into that resolution, and that resolution's got the dollar numbers in it, so.
The actual bond sale.
Well, I was thinking of whether, you know, the principal payment, the principal payment schedule that they've envisioned on there and the associated interest costs that really tie together with it. We've got the, you know, the $20,795,000 is the principal amount, but then the other portions of it might be, or certainly pertinent terms also, even though these are just projections.
Well, you're not gonna know until you actually sell the bonds what the exact numbers are, right? You're not gonna know what the interest rate is in 4 weeks, so.
That's correct.
So, I don't
But
know
I
how
mean,
we can stipulate, put something in the resolution if we don't know what the interest rate's gonna be, so.
I know Joe said this was the basic resolution the board needed to adopt in order to proceed with the bond sale.
Finance court, so.
Right.
Meeting, and you're just, it has to be read a second time and adopted in a regular meeting, exactly as it was adopted in the finance court meeting.
Well, we have two different resolutions.
This is the same resolution that was read at the finance court. So
Well, we did the
I think
second one,
actually
the top of
the
the
bottom
page.
one
Yeah,
is the one we did. We're on the top one now.
One specific to each entity.
Right, one is for the
Right.
finance corporation.
And this is exactly how your your fiscal agent recommended the board adopt that. I'd be hesitant to recommend any change in that at this point.
Well, perhaps it shouldn't be part of the motion, but maybe as a part of our record, I think what we've been looking at is proposals, documents from Ross Sinclair dated 10/23/17 that discuss in detail the projected principal payments and interest costs. And these are, again, just projections, but that's part of our understanding.
The resolution part of it.
I don't think we did. So, my gut feeling is it might muddy the water for the resolution, but I've now stated publicly what our understanding is on this.
Right. Okay, other discussion? All right, if no other discussion, the motion is in order to approve the Clark County Board of Education resolution authorizing the Clark County School District Finance Corporation to issue revenue bonds for the GRC Performance Gym and Athletic Complex project as read.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Heisel,
Second.
second by Mr. Crowder. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Stump.
Thank you.
All right, a motion is in order to adjourn the closed session for disciplinary hearings per KRS 61.810, subsection 1, subsection F. Discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee, member, or student. Okay, motion by Mr. Peridot. Second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries 5-0. The board is in closed session at 8:57 PM. Thank you.